Liquid gold. Go for it, Mike.
All right, where drinking never gets old. Welcome to Liquid Gold.
We have returned.
We have returned from the Christmas holiday, but we're back here talking New Year's Eve because that's a big drinking holiday as well. Mr. Kenneth Dedmon, my co-host, good to be with you. How are you?
Doing great, Mike. It's good to be here.
Yeah, good to have you along here, as always. And we want to introduce you as well to our guest for today. He's the beverage director over at Bastion, which is just down the hill here from where we record this at the We Own This Town studios here in Wedgwood, Houston. Shout out to Michael Eads.
Thanks, Michael.
Thanks for having us, Michael.
In the shadow of the Gibson guitar scoreboard over here at Brewers Stadium.
Yeah, no, man.
I was admiring it.
A lot of weeds over there now.
Yeah. Not the right kind.
Right. I do want to introduce you to our guest today. We get sidetracked easily.
Sorry.
That's why we're podcasting. But we are stoked to have him along today. And we're going to talk about all matter of wine and bubbles. He's a beverage director over at Bastion here just down the hill. Mr. Alex Burch is along. Hey, what's up, Alex?
Doing well.
Thanks for coming, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's great, dude. In the middle of a really busy week in restaurants.
Twilight Zone. I don't know what day it is.
We are taping this the Saturday before New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve is when we hope to air this episode. So we want to give you yet another reason to go out and buy some bubbles and all matter of bubbles. Things we will not be covering today on Liquid Gold. We will not be covering donut cocktails. Maybe for a future episode. We're not going to cover Mariah Carey drinking champagne while riding a horse that's dressed up as a unicorn.
Oh, that's dope.
Is that a real thing?
It's pretty dope.
Oh, man.
We'll get into it on
have to.
Yeah. We'll get into it maybe on a future episode, or maybe if we've got time, we'll get into that. Is Kurt Russell too badass as Santa Claus? I don't know if you saw the Netflix Christmas movie.
It's been recommended to me, and I still haven't followed up on it, but yeah, I believe it.
It's kind of fun. My kids really liked it.
My dad hates Kurt Russell.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, then we're gonna go mano y mano, me and your dad, because I love Kurt Russell.
Yeah, I'm indifferent, but my father has a real distaste for Kurt Russell.
Wow. Well, we're gonna get into that on a future episode for sure. And we are not gonna get into sparkling wine as a murder weapon, but we are gonna get into maybe some proper ways to open a bottle here with Alex. Because that's kind of important, because sparkling wine, it can be pointed at in the wrong direction, pointed at someone's face.
Anything with bubbles can be dangerous.
Yep.
It can be your best friend, but it can also be your worst enemy.
The portent from Mr. Dedmon. So we want to give a shout out here to Jess Machen.
Jess.
Yeah, she designed our beautiful logo for Liquid Gold, which you see there on your podcast app, which you see on our Instagram. We are at liquidgold_pod. So find us on there. And Jess is on Instagram as well at Jess_Machen, and that is Machen. So she can, if you have graphic design needs, if you have logo needs.
She's tagged in the Instagram, right?
She's tagged on our Instagram.
She's so talented.
She is going to be sitting in that chair hanging out with us on a future episode. That's going to be fun.
We should have picked her up on the way over.
We should have. We didn't call before. And you don't do that anymore. You don't just show up anymore at people's house, do you? We kind of do to each other, but
yeah, I mean,
nobody pops in anymore.
There's a level of friendship in the modern era, in the technical age here. Like as we have found ways to stay in contact with each other, we tend to put up a lot of boundaries as well. So don't call, text, stuff like that. Yeah. So the drop in is something that we leave in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, it's like Kramer used to pop on in.
Yeah.
To old Seinfeld, but I don't think
shot these days.
Yeah. What do you think about the pop in, Alex? Is it just gone? Were you around for such instances, like maybe in high school or college, like people just kind of dropping in?
I did it, but I lived out in the sticks. So if anyone was popping in there, that was a cause for concern.
Yeah, that was
out in the country. Yeah.
Where are you from, Alex?
Iowa. It's called Centerville. It is when I fly out, We decide if we want to drive 2 hours to Des Moines or 3 hours to Kansas City.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. In Iowa, there is a snowboarding area. Is that correct?
There are
Like
hills.
a
I've
very
seen
small
hills.
Mountain range there, or maybe a collection of larger hills.
Yeah, I think it's a selection of special hills.
Iowa has a lot to offer.
Well, we'll find
highest.
them. We'll find them for Alex.
highest.
There's stuff in Colorado I don't know about. There's stuff in Tennessee I don't know about.
Iowa has the highest high school graduation rate in the United States.
Wow. You have so much knowledge to pass along to our listeners.
Yeah, I didn't
There's a lot of
even know
value
that.
there. So we're going to talk about all kinds of things here with Alex. All things bubbles, all things wine. He is a beverage professional of the highest order here in Nashville, from the hill country of Iowa, farm country. Now, before we get into a lot with our buddy Alex over here, what we're drinking right now, we are drinking some liquid gold right here. And this is, I've been getting into this as I've been working with pineapples at the house, getting ready for making pineapple beverages over at Chopper, a tiki bar that we're opening here in East Nashville coming up. A lot of times you will have, say, like the rind will be left over after juicing, or you just have like bits of pineapple kind of left over from what you're working with. And Tepache is a beverage that you can make. It's a simple fermented pineapple beverage. It's super simple to make. So all you need is a container with which you are a sterilized container that you're going to make this beverage in that can hold, say, about 4 to 5 quarts of water. Okay. Now, what you're going to do, you're going to take the pineapple rind. Really what you want here is the rind. So you're going to pick up the yeast from the rind, and you're going to pick up some cool flavors in there.
There's
a
lot of oil in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of flavor in there. So what you're going to do, so we've got, say, a container that can hold, let's say, 3 to 5 quarts of water. We're going to take our pineapple trimmings. Also, if you want to do this with just a pineapple and you want to use the fruit and everything, using some of the fruit will give it, as you guys are tasting here, some nice sweetness. You can alter the sweetness a little bit. But the basic ratio here, you've got your 3 to 5 quarts of water, depending on how concentrated you want it, how strong you want it. You're going to take your trimmings from, say, 1 to 3 pineapples. So if you just got rinds, you want probably 2 to 3 pineapples worth. But you can do this with 1 pineapple. All right, you can go to the store, especially when they've got them on sale and they are overripe or they're not looking so great. That's a great pineapple to use for this beverage. So in the container, you've got your water, you've got your pineapple trimmings. And what's great about something like this, and also like when you're making a stock, you don't have to like cut everything up perfectly. You don't have to like dice it. You know, you just hack it up. Just hack it up with a machete and throw it in there. So you've got your water, then you're going to use 2 cups of sugar. You can use like a cup and a half. That's probably not going to be sweet enough. This one here has a little bit over 2 cups. To me, this one's a touch sweet, but you can also squeeze a little lime after the fact.
Are you thinking like sugar in the raw area, or just like, cheap refined sugar? Does it matter?
Regular sugar's fine. For everything like this, I like using those Florida crystals. I like the organic sugar. I like that flavor. I think it's kind of smoother. And then you want some spices. So throw in a few dashes of cinnamon. Maybe if you've got some cinnamon sticks, break those up, throw them in. Get some allspice, crack those allspice berries, throw some of that in. Throw in some clove, nutmeg, all those beautiful spices, all those beautiful West Indies spices, the exotic, delicious spices.
Dried spices that we use this time of year.
We love them.
Put them in everything, really.
Yeah, put them in your coffee. And what you do is you have your container. You're going to lightly cover it. You don't want to cover it and seal it necessarily. You want a little bit of air get in there, because what you're going to use is just the wild yeast floating around, and that's going to help ferment this beverage. And after about 3 days, so after say 2 days, taste it. But what you want to see is you want to see some bubbles floating around in there. You want to see some action going on. All right. Once you see a little action going on in there, you're seeing some bubbles. You're seeing a nice little frothy white top on that container. Then it's time to just strain it and drink it. Keep it in the fridge. It'll have a tiny bit of alcohol, not much at all, not even really the amount of like a beer.
Yeah, there's more alcohol probably in a piece of bread.
Sure.
Probably.
It's just like kind of like, a really simple kind of brew that you can make that is just delicious. So cheers, guys, to Tepache.
Man.
It's also a great kind of vehicle for cocktails. You could make, say, like a rum old fashioned and top it with like an ounce or two of the Tepache. And there you have a very interesting, complex cocktail. So there's a lot you can do with Tepache, and that is Tepache if you want to look up some recipes. But again, I want to give you kind of some simple recipes you can use here on Liquid Gold. At this time, so we talked tequila last week. Is tequila unfair? That's a fun topic for us because we can go all kinds of directions with it. But Kenneth over here is making a really fun tequila cocktail over at Husk. And I want you to talk about that because you're using a really nice sparkling wine to kind of top it off. And you are using a local produce. You're using a local product.
Locally sourced.
So there's a lot of hippies around East Nashville that have these cactus plants that
the prickly
pear
cactus, yes.
Yeah, so tell us about this cocktail you've been making.
All right. Well, Mike, the myth about the prickly pear, at least in Nashville, or East Nashville specifically, is that Cumberland Hardware on Woodland Avenue in the late 70s accidentally got a whole shitload of cacti. And they ran a special on it, and a lot of folks picked them up, threw them in their yard. 20,
Makes
30,
a lot of sense.
40 years later, they're all over the neighborhood. Randomly. Rentals at rental properties.
They're all over my neighborhood up in Inglewood.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to see around the neighborhood in Tennessee.
Primarily, it's very interesting. You see them in front yards and not necessarily in alleyways. So I like to frequent alleyways. I've got a dog, so that's what I'm doing back there.
Chris, the legend.
So, I got into the prickly pear. Shout out to my buddy Mikey Clausius, who was the Lippman distribution graphic designer for about 14 years. You see it a lot more towards Florida. It's in Cuba, all over the place. In fact, Fidel Castro planted a lot of prickly pear around Guantanamo Bay to prevent Cubans from defecting.
Oh, wow.
It should have been on our subject of things not to talk about. I'm sorry, Mike.
Yeah. I didn't really want to talk about Fidel Castro, but I do on a future episode, but that's okay.
So this cactus will bud very late in the fall and produces this beautiful, beautiful bud. And it's got all these little spines sticking out of them, so you don't really want to touch them because they get into your fingers. And they're hard to get out. You got to have tweezers and a really bright light. They're horrible.
You want gloves to harvest these bad boys.
You always want to wear gloves, or I like to just blowtorch them before I handle them. And you could do that right off of the cactus itself. But what you get is a very bright purple fruit.
Almost fuchsia.
Yeah, it's very fuchsia, magenta. Depends also on the level of ripeness. You get a swaying hue. Of color. But the fruit itself, I wouldn't necessarily say it's sweet, but it does have that old school bubblegum flavor, like Big League Chew. Anyway, back to my cocktail. So I named this cocktail The Eagle and the Snake. It's a tribute both to an old cocktail, to the Mexican flag, and also to one of my favorite aperitif cocktails, the Seelbach, named after Seelbach Hotel, downtown Louisville. So this will be with tequila, though. First of all, made a shrub with said fruit, which is pretty easy. Just cooked it down, mashed them up, added a little vodka, a little bit of vinegar, added sugar. Basically, same ratios of water to prickly pear to vinegar to vodka.
Cool.
Cook them all down. Cook it down. You want there's a lot of pectin-like stabilizer naturally.
Okay.
So you get a really, really thick cordial out of it, or a shrub, or what have you. So,
which helps the texture of the cocktail, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is exactly why I ended up topping it off with a sparkling wine. The Eagle and the Snake is primarily made with tequila, orange liqueur, of course, a little bit of lime juice. And I use Peychaud bitters in it as well. It's a little bit of lavender.
Awesome.
Finish it off with a Loire Valley sparkling Cab Franc Rosé, which is pretty cool. From are you familiar with the Grinnell?
Oh yeah.
The Grinnell, Alex.
The Grinnell.
Yeah.
Making waves.
I'm a fan. It's got a lot going on. Does it not?
Yeah. No, I love that wine.
It's so good. I love that wine. We just saw it at Woodland Wine, which we just went over and bought some bottles that we're going to pop open here soon. But yes, I love that wine. I love that cocktail you've been making here for a few years. I look forward to trying this new version. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, you should come by, man.
All right. I'm going to do it.
Or just don't have my cocktail, man. Just have the Grinnell. Like,
yeah.
You don't have
I've had a lot of that. I'm familiar with it. I think the beautiful thing about sparkling wine cocktails, so you've got like the French 75, you've got the Seelbach, and a lot of these are just cocktails with a few ingredients, usually not a ton of ingredients. And then you make that cocktail proper, and then you top it with some sparkling wine. It's almost cheating.
Is that fair? Yeah.
It's almost cheating. Sparkling wine cocktails are unfair.
Yeah. As a segue from our tequila subject, let's finishing a drink with sparkling, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's like a crutch, but it's awesome.
It is a crutch. And I'll be the first to admit.
It's like a cane.
I'm full of shit, bro. I freaking put sparkling in everything, and everyone thinks I'm cool. Bubbles are awesome.
Alex, do you have a favorite sparkling wine cocktail?
Oh man,
or is it? Yeah.
I'm pretty simple. French 75 is great, but I really haven't dealt with a lot of wine cocktails when it comes down to it. So,
Kenneth, thank you for that cocktail. I love prickly pear. You might see it in Mexican markets as tuna. So I look forward to talking sparkling wine here with Alex Burch from Bastion. Alex, tell us what you brought today.
We need your involvement here.
Yeah. Checking in.
What are you opening right here?
So this is a wine called Solerba by 1701 Franciacorta. But this is a Petit Naturel, so it doesn't get the name Franciacorta.
Yeah, it's a good crack.
So this is fun, though. It's 100% Chardonnay, unfiltered. Should be a fun little twist on, I guess, sparkling wine overall. I also chose it because I think Chardonnay gets an awful rap, and if there's any time to redeem its name, it's with sparkling wine.
Why is that?
I think it has mostly to do with California. Everyone has an association, for better or worse, that Chardonnay is this big, bold, buttery, oaky, creamy, rich wine, which it can be, and some people love, and it can be the opposite as well, and this really bright, refreshing, whole different grape. So there's a whole range of styles here that you really don't see out of many other grapes. Or
Chardonnay is typecast.
Yeah,
it's like
I was trying to think of an actor.
My mom. It's kind of like Sylvester
Chardonnay's
Stallone.
Been pigeonholed a lot.
Sylvester Stallone is the Chardonnay of action heroes because it's like he did Rocky. He had all this range, especially in the first few Rockies, and by Rocky 5, he's just whoa. But then he's doing his action movies. I think probably everything he got offered was just like, well, we kind of want you to like hit people. I think he had to throw like a left hook in any movie he was in the first 15 years of his career. Rocky or no Rocky. But shout out to Copland. I love that. That's kind of where he broke. So what's Copland? If he's Chardonnay, Copland is what we're drinking now?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go for that. I'll go for that. Yeah.
Cheers, boys. Cheers. Thank you for bringing this.
Solerba.
Cheers,
how do we pronounce?
Happy New Year.
How do we pronounce this?
I'm assuming Solerba.
Solerba.
Cool. No dosage.
So you are pouring this
delicious.
At Bastion.
I have.
Okay. This has been a part of the roster.
Yeah. It's been on the flight. Which we can, I guess, maybe get to later.
It reminds me a little bit of like a very kind of mild Prosecco. Reminds me of Prosecco a little bit. It's light.
Yeah.
It's very fresh.
Yeah, super
light,
fresh.
Very dry to start, but it seems to like keep going.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it really doing a number on my tongue.
Yeah, so it's
as bubbles do.
But it's a fun little twist. Not quite as effervescent as full-fledged champagne, but all the descriptors you just threw out there are kind of the opposite of what everyone associates with that grape.
Totally. Well, that is great. It's great to have you here in Nashville. you're one of those guys that kind of takes people's assumptions about certain wines, like you're doing with Chardonnay here, and you kind of turn them on their head. Now, I do want to read something here. This was on Bastion Nashville's Instagram, and they were kind of introducing you, talking about you, and they make the point that that you're able to make wine relatable and unpretentious, that you describe wine in such a down-to-earth way that makes it kind of easy to understand. They mention your Fly Blind program, which I want to get into in just a minute here, but I love what they wrote here, and actually you wrote this, correct?
Yeah, or a strong portion of that.
Yeah.
The little description, yeah.
So Alex himself wrote this. So and I quote, if Beaujolais were a person, they'd probably be wearing a ratty tee, dark jeans, and a denim jacket, sipping a beer at Three Crow. Cool, but not too cool. Coincidentally, a great serving temperature as well. Easy choice for fall, bright and playful, with complexity that doesn't complicate. I'll stop waxing poetic. Try it with pork, try it with fish, try it with steak and mushrooms. It's got your back. Light, bright, tart, red berries, and just the right amount of earth. What can go wrong? Wow, I'm thirsty. But that's super cool. So you wrote that. So that kind of shows your sort of laid back approach to wine. Where does that come from?
I think, well, honestly, I've had a very short lifespan in the wine side of things, and, still remembering when I was trying to figure out the difference between Pinot Noir and Cabernet when trying to serve tables.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no reason to get, I think, crazy about it or too, I guess, like I said, they're waxing too far poetic or those crazy, I think, stereotypes about sommeliers and this super weird, nerdy telling this is like a summer breeze on the 5th of July. No one needs...
What's wrong with that?
Well, it's a lovely thing. So, but once it starts to feel like you aren't talking about anything real anymore, I like to cut through bullshit, so...
Awesome.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
And I think people respond to that because people anymore are just sort of... There's a lot of information out there, but people are also bringing a lot of preconceptions to it. I think people really respond to that kind of no BS and just sort of speaking their language because people get intimidated about wine.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you grew up in Iowa,
Mm-hmm.
and how long have you been here in Nashville?
A little over 7 years.
How did you get started in the service industry? Is there like some sort of humble beginning here?
Or if you want a nice Iowa story,
Yeah.
I loved working at the concession stands during the fair.
Here we go.
There you go. Ooh.
Nice.
Yeah, but I like the hustle and bustle of it, and keeps you on your feet. You're moving fast. It's like a mix of problem solving. You get to share at this point too. Share something that you're really into and passionate about, and I get a caliber of restaurant like Bastion. Share that with a lot of people that are interested in it as well.
So we've got to throw a shout to just everybody over at Bastion. So you've got the bar side. If people don't know, but you probably do know if you're listening to this podcast, Bastion it's probably the best restaurant in town. It's got a great bar. It's sort of a multifaceted place. So you've got Bastion, the bar. You can get nachos. You can get great cocktails from Blake and the crew and all those guys over there. Some great bartenders, some of the best bartenders in the city over there.
Very talented. Excellent. And characters.
They do cool events there, great music. I saw Scott Soifer and the Left Hooks over there recently, so that was cool. And then you've got the restaurant side. And that's where things get a little more mysterious, a little more intense, but we've got to throw a shout out to just like the crew over there. I call it the Golden State Warriors of the restaurant world in Nashville, which makes like Josh, Steph Curry, I think Adam Bender, who I love. I consider him a mentor. I got to work with Adam for a while, and he's just an amazing beverage professional. He's kind of running the show over there. He's like Klay Thompson. Baxter, Brian Baxter, the most talented chef I think I've ever, worked with, been around. He's incredible. He's like Kevin Durant.
No,
you got Brian Lee over.
He's more like James Harden.
Well, but he
James
doesn't
Harden.
play for the Warriors.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I thought we were just... Oh, never mind. I don't want to talk about the Warriors.
Well, I'm just making the point that it's an all-star team.
Yeah.
And you got Andrew Hannigan over there running the cocktail side of things. The you call it the little bar?
Yeah, little bar.
The little bar.
Yeah.
And that's that little, that beautiful bar adorned with candles and all matter of rare booze. You'll find some of the most rare booze that you'll see in the city at that little bar. You can just go in there and have a drink with him, correct? I think a lot of people don't understand that about that little bar there. And if you go in there, you're going to find Andrew sitting there. You're going to be in really good hands getting a solid cocktail and a very unique cocktail. I was over there recently looking through the menu, kind of the program that he's doing with cocktails. So in such a small space, you have all these all-stars. What's that like to kind of work with that on a daily basis?
Oh, that's fantastic. Obviously, I think there is some inspiration that comes through all of that, but I feel very fortunate that not only that I have kind of the free reign to do what I like, but that every other side is at the same caliber, if not higher. So you can't go wrong with anything. I think it's great for the guests too, because it doesn't take too much to know that you can kind of trust that anything is going to be executed well and hopefully taste great. Yeah. So a lot of people are way more open and receptive to trying new things, which is a lot of fun.
And I'm sure you have some great staff meals.
Yeah.
I got to tell this story. So I was lucky. I was over there. I was in the neighborhood meeting someone at the coffee shop or something, I believe, and just happened to see Baxter. Baxter was outside grilling something on the grill or something, and he was like, "Oh, we just made staff meal. I made Cuban sandwiches." And he's like, "Let me get you one." I was like, "I got to go, man. I'd love to hang out and eat, but I got to run." So he got me one of the Cuban sandwiches that he had made for staff meal. Oh, man. And I'm driving down the road, and all right, I'm going to try and eat this as I go. And I take a bite, and then I just swerve off the road. And I just park. I'm like, what just happened? And yeah, it was one of the best sandwiches of my life. It was this Cuban sandwich that he had whipped together. So that shows you what they can do just cooking for each other. And they do just amazing things in the kitchen over there. What's the best way, if you want to go experience the restaurant there, what's the best way to do it?
There's honestly
what time's family meal?
Best ways? Yeah, come for family meal. Just give us a call ahead of time.
Yeah.
There's two very different, I think, really great experiences there, and one is at the kitchen counter or the tables. But sitting at the counter, we have our regular a la carte menu. There's 15 different items kind of broken across 5 courses-ish. And for me, I would bring a friend, get the whole menu, both do the fly blind if you're into wine, and you'll get to try so many different things and so many different combinations.
And the fly blind is...
Tell us about the fly blind.
Your tasting menu pairing, is that correct?
Yeah, of sorts. So, like I said with all those dishes, there's a lot of different paths you can take through the menu. So this is leaving things a little more open. So generally, I've got about 6 wines selected for the entire menu, and almost always laying those down in pairs. So like a couple wines for your first 6 dishes, 2 courses, repeat that again, but they're made to work with a good number of the dishes there, so you can kind of explore and try kind of pairing on your own, or find that there's often more than one right answer and try something new.
Is there a particular dish that's on right now that you're excited about the pairing, or you were excited to kind of something triggered something in you to say, I can't wait to pair this with that? Is there something on the menu right now that you could talk about that you're excited about?
Yeah, one of the dishes we've done is the Parmesan and mushrooms, which is like a Parmesan broth and like mushroom tortellini. So you've got these kind of earthy aromas, this kind of salty thing going on as well. And a wine I've been doing with it is very similar to the one we're currently drinking, called Kochspitz. And it's a blend of 5 varietals from Austria, Pétillant Naturel, so it's very dry, but it's got this crazy earthy, mushroomy, mineral thing going on that plays really well along with those flavors.
Mm-hmm. And that's a white?
It's a semi-sparkling white wine, so right down the alley of this with a little bit more kind of vegetal nature to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds great. So we've talked a little bit here today about, we're talking all things bubbles. We're getting ready for New Year's Eve. It's also something that I think all of us like to drink all the time. And I think it's something that everyone likes to drink all the time. It's sort of, it could unite us all. Mm-hmm. We could say, we need to pick a wine for myself and 12 of my friends that we can all drink. Something like this would be perfect. Everyone would like this. But can you tell us, so we talk about champagne, we talk about all other matters, Prosecco, Cava, all these things. You've brought some kind of naturally sparkling wines, pet nats. Can you talk about a little bit about that? What is different about those wines than, say, most of your cavas and champagnes that are sitting on the shelves?
Sure. So pet nats are kind of the flashback to the start of natural wine. So a lot of other production methods have multiple steps to it. This, you just start making a wine, and before it's done fermenting, which produces carbon dioxide, you bottle it, cap it, and then it carbonates itself. So the production method's a little cheaper, which can bring the cost down a little bit. You can get a whole different mix of flavors and aromas, as you can see in the one here. With that unfiltered nature, it also has this cool kind of bready, yeasty thing going on. But they're generally a little more playful. A lot that I've had are on the drier side of things as well.
I'm always a fan. So I worked a little bit over at Woodland Wine Merchant. I've been shopping there. It was sort of a revelation. I used to live, when I first moved to town about 8 years ago now, I was living down on 11th. I wasn't far from Woodland Wine Merchant. I'll never forget just walking up there one day, going inside, and just saying to myself, I think I just died and went to heaven. Or it was basically like, oh, I can live here now because there's this amazing place for wine. Kenneth and I just stopped over there.
It's a beautiful story. Yeah.
We saw Will and Jamie and all the crew over there, and they always have a lot of those pet nats around. So if you're interested in that, definitely stop by and talk to them. But we're about to open here this beautiful sparkling here. This is the Anton Oleg Sect Rosé. Okay. What Will has to say about this?
Trocken rosé. Trocken means dry, right?
Trocken means dry.
Yeah.
Assembling wines from a variety. So Will always writes these cool things about the wine. And so you can go in there, you can get this whole education, and you can really steer yourself. A lot of people are intimidated to go in to any wine shop, any liquor store, and be like, you know what? I don't know what the fuck I want. But
they make it easy because the way that they organize that wine store is perfect.
And they give great tasting notes. So, but for this one, what Will has to say, assembling wines from a variety of climates, soils, and growers, Anton Oleg's sparkling wine mosaics are a lucky find. Method Traditionnel makes for fine and persistent bubbles in this uncommon and succulent rosé. And I love a sparkling rosé. That's my picnic wine. That's my midnight wine. That's my 5 o'clock wine. And the tasting notes that he gives for this, he says there's a roasty earthiness. You get some roses in there, which is great. You don't always get that with the rosé, but it's kind of a win-win when you do. You got tart cherries, tickling bubbles, and a fine minerality. So that little description right there sort of tells you everything you need to know. It's really, it makes buying interesting wine very easy.
Well, I like to think when I'm reading those descriptions there. Yeah, please do, Mike. That sounds great. When I'm reading those descriptions there, I don't really even feel like I'm learning about the wine. I'm learning a lot more about myself.
Sure, man. Know thyself, drink thy wine.
So,
I think that's what Aristotle said.
And drink thyself.
That's a beautiful thing about wine, too, is if you're drinking wine, you're sort of immediately connected to the earth. You're sort of immediately connected to the world, what grows, and the natural world in general. That's one thing I really like about all wines.
It's alive. Certainly is alive.
That's so nice. And there is that roses thing in there. It's like drinking sparkling roses.
Yeah.
Oh, my. That is beautiful.
Or
that
like
would be amazing.
Green strawberry.
Sure. Yeah. Green strawberries aren't far away. I bet in Louisiana right now, South Louisiana, there's like these little green strawberries.
I'm certainly.
Just they're almost there. In the new year, they will be with us.
Those Abita folks are on top of it.
They're ready.
Can't wait for that.
Yeah. I think right now would be a good time to talk about, you got to be careful, our friends out there, our thirsty listeners. Be careful when you're opening your sparkling wine at home. Now, the main thing, and I want you to weigh into this, Alex, is you want to point the bottle away from anyone, away from yourself, and kind of away from any kind of ricochet situation. So if you're cooking, safety first. Just be really careful about opening your bubbles, opening these more traditional bottles. Can you speak to that?
Yeah,
It's dangerous.
Yeah.
It's not a toy.
I think the speed of a cork is 25 miles per hour, and you've got around 100 psi behind it.
That's faster than a lot of airsoft guns.
And even with, I'll make this point because this happened to us at home. I'm always looking for.
Sorry.
I'm always looking for the best like champagne stopper, because I try to. Anytime you're going to open a bottle, it's probably best to just finish it. It kind of stresses me out. Yeah. But sometimes you're not going to get there. We've got a nice sparkling wine, sort of wine stopper that we use. And the pressure can still, it's such a good sparkling wine topper that the pressure can build up. And so even if you're going to open it that next day, you still need to be careful about opening it and looking at it at the same time, or opening it right in front of your face.
Yeah.
So be careful out there, our friends.
Don't get willy-nilly.
Right.
Keep your thumb over the cork.
And cage.
Yeah. Keep that cage on. Keep your thumb on top. Use your grip. Use the grip on both of your hands. Take your time.
Amen to that, brother. So this is sort of a last dash for you guys at Bastion. You're about to go into a break. Yep. You guys take a couple weeks off at the beginning of the year. So say about 7-10 days or whatever you guys take off. And people kind of go their separate ways. I'm always interested to know where like places they might want to travel. What are you going to be doing for the break? You just be chilling out? Or are you going somewhere? What are you getting into?
Up to New York for a few days.
Awesome.
Still unplanned. Probably hit some wine bars. Maybe a good restaurant somewhere.
That's great. So you're looking, and that's what I really like about it's such a pro crew over there, and people are always looking for a little bit of inspiration. So what are you looking for? You get into New York City, and you're kind of looking to be inspired. You want to check out some things. Is there anything really on your list that you're just excited to check out?
Yeah, I'd like to go check out Terroir, which is Paul Greco's wine bar that's been around for a while. He's kind of a wild card of the wine world, and I'm sure can learn some things. You can learn things from just reading his wine list. Probably revisit Campagne de Vin sur Naturel, which is a fantastic wine bar, and maybe Four Horsemen for the natural side of life.
Very cool. So you've been here in Nashville for a while, Alex. Is there any place here that sort of like jump-started your passion for wine? Or how did you kind of end up as beverage director of probably the best restaurant in town?
You don't just like fall into that role. Do you have dirt? Did you get dirt on someone? Did you just bust your ass? You probably busted your ass.
Dug some dirt up on Josh. Now, my start's, it's odd twist. It was more necessity. I didn't have any interest in wine and knew I would be better serving tables if I learned about it. So started sitting in on blind tastings with coworkers, studying and kind of prepping for the intro or the first level of the court master sommelier's progression. Then it just started to slowly take over. So I started hosting my own blind tasting groups, studying, and as that progressed, you make friends in the industry. And honestly, jump over here was through a mutual friend who's now over at 11 Madison Park in New York. He just gave me a buzz one day and said they were looking.
That's
Had
awesome.
A few conversations and a stage shift, and here we are.
Do you have any insight you can give to some of our listeners, people that might be in the industry? What do you think is kind of the best way to, get into a blind tasting situation? But what are some of the best ways that people can sort of delve into it more? Because I see that a lot in the industry. People who love wine, they love beverages, and they're like, I want to take it a step further. So what are some ways they can do that, do you think?
I think some people have issues with the more traditional certification approach, but I think it does set you up for a more well-rounded kind of education and help you cover holes you might not know are there. So with that said, kind of pursuing that and then seeing what all falls into place. So there's educational websites, Guildsom's fantastic. Kind of get an intro book and just start to slowly dive in and ask questions. Feel like I'm pretty open to anyone that stops by and has any questions on anything or wants a resource. And honestly, the restaurant community as a whole is super open and welcoming here. And I think the wine community is too.
Definitely.
I agree.
So I'd reach for Bubbles.
Yeah, Bubbles is the answer. Today it is.
To most questions. and we are going to fire some questions at Alex, but I do want to know, so you eat around the city, you're heading to bottle shops, you're probably looking for, you're probably like us, you know, we're nerds, we're geeks, we're looking for something interesting, we're looking for something cool, but tell us some of your favorite things in wine. Tell us some of your favorite bottles, your favorite grapes, favorite regions.
Okay.
I know it's hard, but what's some of your
top
absolute
5
favorite things?
go-tos, and more like, you know, like that includes your guilty pleasures. You know, God knows I have some.
For some grapes, I love Riesling, which that's another one that has a lot of misconceptions or
True.
bad representation.
Looking at you, bro.
Yeah. But that can be great, and great variance in style. So from sweet, but sweet with balance, which I think you encounter in cocktails too. Sugar's okay if you got some acid behind it, and honestly, necessary sometimes. So that's fantastic. Champagne is always not too shabby. On the red side, I like the lighter, more delicate styles generally. So Pinot Noir, Gamay, which is the grape of Beaujolais.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong there. Yeah. And then
Awesome.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. We do want to, this is a new feature that we're going to get going here on Liquid Gold.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to call this Pair-a-Palooza. All right?
Okay.
And we're going to talk to beverage professionals from all walks of life about pairing wine or beverages with food. And I will throw a shout out to Adam Bender. So he's the GM over at Bastion.
That's a general manager.
He's that's short for general manager. But he, I was able to work with him for a few years over at Rumors East. Back when he was over there, he went from there to the Catbird seat here in Nashville, where he was really doing nothing but creating beverages and also pouring really awesome wine to pair with the food. It's all about pairings there. So I do remember before he left, just trying to soak up as much information as I could about pairing things. And one thing that he really helped kind of open up for me was we started talking about, well, think about what you'd pair with fast food. There's almost no better food pairing than burger and fries, Coca-Cola. Mm-hmm. That sort of tells you that this is not some sort of exact science. The reason that works is you have salty, umami, bursting food that you then pair with something that's sort of delicious and sweet. And you have this contrast of styles. And it seems like pairing works that way. You either have this sort of contrast, things sort of work together, or you pair based on, say, a really nice tasting note in the wine that sort of plays off the food. So there's all these ways to do it. But for Pair-a-Palooza, we're going to run through some everyday food items, and I want you to throw out some pairings that we can use. Now, you can use wine. You can use anything that comes to mind. So cheeseburger.
I go Beaujolais.
Beaujolais.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's an easy out for a lot of food pairings, but
sure.
Like you were saying with the weight of that dish or sandwich, there's a lot of there's a lot of acidity there that kind of cuts through. It's a little lighter, so it plays on some similar factors, but also creates a little relief or release.
Sure. So it's not too much to sort of digest with that burger, which can be a good cheeseburger can be like, you know, sort of like an event to eat.
Or,
it's a big undertaking. It can be.
Yeah.
So by Beaujolais with a burger, you were talking just like a typical red gamay. What about a nouveau?
Nouveau could be cool. That's even brighter and fresher.
Certainly.
Yeah.
So if you got like mushrooms and onions on the burger, maybe go nouveau.
That's a great idea. Good job.
I know what I'm doing today.
Y'all are sick.
Let's go get some.
Sick.
Let's get some burgers.
This is great.
Fried chicken.
Fried chicken. This is the sparkling wine episode. It's gonna be champagne. Yeah. Sparkling wine, fried food. You can't go wrong.
It's really a beautiful thing, and people are careful to pair spicy food with bubbles, but it can be kind of exhilarating.
Hot chicken. Is that
I'm
correct,
talking
Mike?
hot chicken.
Okay.
I love sparkling wine with hot chicken. Now I think it's tough because the bubbles can like aggravate the spiciness. It can kind of it just like creates this firework explosion. Can you speak to that?
Yeah. So that's totally true. But there's a whole range of styles within sparkling wine and champagne. So you can amp up basically the sugar, which is going to mellow out the spice, do something like a demi-sec champagne, and then you're back gravy. You're good. Yeah, something like that.
Ooh, gravy.
Yeah.
Well, all right, I'm going to throw this at you. What would you pair with biscuits and gravy?
Shout out to Prince's Hot Chicken, real
Shout out
quick, while
Prince's.
we're on the subject before we let it go.
Let's talk about Prince's. Just had a fire. We are taping this on Saturday. They just had a big fire at the East Nashville location. But what a lot of people don't know is there is another Prince's. So if you are here visiting or you are wondering what's going on, there is another Prince's down near Nolensville, off Nolensville Pike, right near Old Hickory. So if you need your Prince's fix, go down there, support them. They've got a lot of work to do.
Still run by the same family, so you still have the exact same experience of looking at multiple generations cooking your Nashville hot chicken.
I hope that they get back rolling over there at the Inglewood location.
We'll be thinking of you.
We will keep you updated here on Liquid Gold on their progress. That's such a special place here for Nashville, and we're sorry to hear about the fire over there. But again, support them down at that South Nashville location. Head down there. There's so much amazing food off Nolensville Road. But go down there to Prince's. Now, moving on for Pair-a-Palooza.
Pair-a-Palooza returns.
Chinese food. Talk to me.
Gewürztraminer.
Oh, I can taste it.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
All these big,
Quick on the draw there.
Tropical fruit flavors. Also, a really fun spice to it. And with the spice that you can find in Chinese food, you'll often find a little bit of residual sugar again that's going to mellow that out.
God, that sounds good. Hot fish sandwich.
Hot fish, I'm going to treat like hot chicken.
Okay.
I mean, you can do that. Or if you want to mix it up, I would do some Riesling that's like Spatlese level. So again, some sugar. But those wines are really high acid, and that plays really well with the fatty fried element of dishes.
Awesome.
High acid German Riesling.
Yeah, with some sugar.
So you love Riesling. Let's dovetail here into Riesling. So a lot of people just consider Riesling is sweet, and I don't necessarily want sweet, so I'm not going to drink Riesling. But that's not necessarily the case. There are all these bone dry, mineral driven, just incredible small production wines that you can get here in Nashville. There's a lot of them that are available.
Yeah.
So where does your love for Riesling come from, and what sort of myths can you debunk about Riesling?
Yeah, so I'm an acid head. So basically all the wines I talked about earlier are really high-toned, racy, high-acid wines. Riesling pairs really well with food. There's a variety of flavors there, but also doesn't throw in a ton of contrasting or, blocks, you could say, when it comes to food pairing. And then when you have those different levels of sweetness, it has different uses as well. I think if you're okay drinking a Coca-Cola, you can drink a sweet wine that's balanced. Because, the amount of sugar in a Coke is astronomical already. And it has its place. If you're focused on food.
Yeah.
And then I can roll into dessert wine too, which I think is something I deal with a lot, and I try to be as evangelical as possible with. Like, I don't do red wine and chocolate. I know that's a thing for a lot of people, but the general rule when it comes to pairing on that side is you want your wine to be a little sweeter. Otherwise, it just kind of falls flat. Or with, like, for me, red wine, all of a sudden the wine tastes bitter. And that's if you're doing these things really back and forth and trying to use them together. So with dessert wines, I think, sometimes I have to tell people that this isn't post-dessert, this isn't pre-dessert, this is with the dish. And this is where it applies.
Okay, back to Pair-a-Palooza. Mac and cheese. We're talking everyday foods here. Mac and cheese, which I think you could drink a bunch of things with. What would you like?
I'm gonna take it back to the start. We're gonna do some California Chardonnay. We're gonna get a little. We're gonna get a little butter. We're just gonna match up the flavors, get creamy.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever say that again, but yeah.
Let's get it. Let's take it back to buttered Chardonnay, buttery Chardonnay. It's not all bad.
Yeah,
there's some
good styles where it's
that can be a great texture, mouthfeel to it. That
some weight,
malolactic.
Yeah.
And our thirsty listeners out there, for us, just do us a favor. Go into your local wine shop and say, "I'm having mac and cheese. I want some buttery Chardonnay," and see what they say. They'll probably be taken aback. Like, really? Oh, okay, all right. All right, so pizza. What would you pair with pizza?
Pizza, I'm going to go with some Lambrusco. I feel like I keep talking about sugar, but I'm not a big pizza wine person, and tomato sauce is kind of sweet, which I think gets ignored. So I think it's good to have a Lambrusco with a little bit of sweetness to match up with that.
Awesome. Cool.
Are we just talking a cheese pizza?
Well, so
Probably want like a treated meat pizza with that Lambrusco.
Yeah, we could throw
Deluxe.
some divide. Yeah, I'm a pineapple ham pizza guy.
wow.
So,
The Hawaiian pizza.
What would be cool is Tepache, which we have here in front of us,
Yeah.
there we
topped
go.
with a little Lambrusco.
With some sparkle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
my.
God, did we just broke
We just made a cocktail.
podcasting. Pair-a-Palooza went well. Alex, while we've got you here, you are not just a beverage professional in this town. You are obviously pairing all these beautiful dishes with all this amazing wine that you're bringing in over there. You're bringing in wine specific to some of these dishes and specific to what you're looking for, but you're also a shopper here in Nashville. You've got to go out and buy wine like the rest of us. There are some great wine shops here, but for our listeners that they want to get into wine a little bit more, they want to get into some styles they're not as familiar with, how can they do that? What are some recommendations you might have for that?
On the first point, like, definitely, if you see something interesting on a wine list at a restaurant, you can try a glass of something there. But if you want to do some home exploring, I think it'd be a really fun idea. If you really want to go into it, is walk into a wine store you can trust. So, like, I love Woodland Wines, and the whole staff there really knows what they're talking about. Harvest on the west side is great too, amongst a number of others. But find someone you can trust. Have them put together a case of wine covering kind of the whole gamut. Tell them you want big, bold styles, light styles, and keep the receipt. And then you can just kind of go through, and every time you open a bottle, mark if you like it, if you don't like it, and if you want to go all the way, you can write details about why. But then you can walk right back into a store, a month later or a week later, and kind of show them and give them a profile. Or when you're talking to someone about wine too and looking for recommendations, it's great to tell people what you like, and that doesn't include just grapes, but if you know who makes the last bottle of wine that you really liked, they can find out so much more just by knowing that.
I think it's good. I think you bring up a good point. A lot of what frustrates people in terms of buying wine, in my experience, both kind of as a beverage professional, but also when I was working at Woodland, is they come in and they're like, I had this wine, it was amazing, and I have no idea what it was. And it's like, well, let me get out my crystal ball and see what I can gather. And you start to kind of ask them questions, and that does become kind of a fun game. But I think the easiest way is to, like you see people do, they take a picture of a label. That can help. But writing a few notes down, that will go a long way.
The
that
photo
will sort of
would
keep
be
you
the
prepared.
preferred approach to finding a wine that you enjoyed.
You find a wine you like, snap a picture of it.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to hate on that.
No one's going to hate on that. No.
We'll show you right here. We'll hold it so the picture isn't blurry.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll take care
Maybe
of you.
adjust the
Alex will take care of you.
Yeah.
Adjust the lighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can adjust the lighting if it's too dark.
Don't be afraid to share
That's
your
what they're
budget.
there for.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
You can. That makes it... I don't want to... I'm not trying to rake anyone over the coals, so... that can definitely be a helpful point in a store or a restaurant.
Yeah, it just reiterates. Like,
That's the first thing we did when we went into Woodland today. We weren't looking to spend a ton, but and Will, we're going to send you a bill for all the stuff we're saying about your wine shop.
No, we agreed on a price.
We're hoping to spend
you pick a bottle,
roughly.
I'll pick a bottle.
Yep.
And it was not miserly, not a miserly price that we agreed upon, but a reasonable.
And the quality of the wine that you are going to get at these shops compared to what you are going to get at the big supermarkets is so huge.
It is ridiculous.
I don't think I can emphasize that enough. You have producers that are interested in quantity, and you have producers that are interested in quality, and that's a huge difference. Okay, and these specialty stores, these smaller wine and liquor stores
sole
here,
proprietorships. For the most part, they're sole proprietorships. So
they are doing amazing work.
Family-owned businesses.
Support your friends out there. We talked about Woodland. We talked about Harvest. We got Grand Cru. We're a fan of those fine men and women out there in West Nashville and the bottle shop in Franklin. So if you're listening and you're out near Cool Springs, Franklin, that's a great shop too. Those are some really fine, knowledgeable people. There's really cool shops all over the region for you to buy some really dope wine. All right. At this time, we have our feature here on Liquid Gold, Booze News. And we're going to turn things over to Kenneth. Let's talk about what's booze-worthy out there in the world. What's going on out there?
I don't want to be too jokey here, but I do have some serious news that I was reading about yesterday. I really had to take a moment to really take it in because Mike, we're getting older. You and I are getting a little older. We've been in the service industry for a long time, and we're starting to feel it. You're
looking at my knee.
I'm looking at your knee. Yeah. It's
I'm 2 weeks off knee
surgery. The closest symbol of mortality to me right now is your well recovering knee.
I'm gonna dunk on your ass in about 4 weeks. We'll be dunking on your head.
Yeah, I mean, I'll let you, dude. You can do that.
6 foot hoop.
From the Sun in the UK, new study finds that a injection of ethanol in the sphincter can help most patients with enlarged prostates, which is an affliction that we're on the cusp of, Mike. We're on the cusp of. Most men in their mid 50s, so we got a little time. Most men in their mid 50s have difficulty urinating. I mean, let's talk about health, man.
Wow, I didn't expect to get into sphincters, but
I want to let's make this a little bit more broad of a subject and more like men's health.
Yeah, okay.
Men don't.
Yep.
I could tell
they need help. We need help.
I can only speak for myself, and I'm a sensitive guy, Mike, and I may have this shroud of an indifferent, apathetic.
I think of you as invincible, but if you say so.
That's so kind of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We don't really talk, men in general, talking to each other. This is a men's moment. Mm-hmm. We don't really talk about our own personal health that much, even though we might think about it a lot more than we might be willing to share.
Sure. We're just limping around.
Yeah.
I need a drink.
Like, how's your knee? We got out of the car. I was like, yeah, let's see you walk. I could have been a lot more sensitive about that. Should have asked you, how is your knee doing? Can I do anything for you? I should have been like that this whole week, but it's the holidays.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the study. A new testing shows that injecting a high percentage of alcohol dose to the enlarged prostate. Why can't we do this without laughing? Yeah, I'm trying to be serious here, guys. Come on. Can actually lead to a shrinking of said enlarged prostate, thus helping most gentlemen with their bladder issues. Mm-hmm. So are you familiar with the whole enlarged prostate, what it does?
Sure.
Kind of pinches off your urethra. Mm-hmm. So you have to pee constantly. You feel like peeing constantly.
Wow.
Are we dodging that we're talking about medicinal butt chugging?
Yeah. I was... I didn't want to get into that.
That's my man.
I wanted to leave it there for y'all.
Yeah. That's my man over there.
So I mean, we're gonna the testing wise, it's.
I'm glad he stuck around for Booze News.
Yeah.
So testing wise, in a clinical environment, yes, injecting high amounts of alcohol. I don't imagine it's a lot of alcohol, but very concentrated amount of alcohol to the man's enlarged prostate has shown a 30% reduction in size, which is great. Alcohol is a diuretic, so it doesn't make too far blown of a possibility that localized alcohol in a medicinal form can actually help you. And I'm glad that we could take a tender moment, actually, you guys, and talk about seriously about men's health.
Sure.
So we should
take care of yourself. We're getting into the new year where people are going to be like, they're going to wake up and say, "Oh, I forgot to be healthy." We neglect our health, but we go all at it and we celebrate and we go after it. And then January 1st, we say, I have to get healthy. And so it's that time of year. So do think about your health.
Yeah. And I'm not scared of sharing my own health health issues with you, Mike, and I want you to feel, both of you guys, Alex, like
booze news.
And
We're always learning.
Yeah,
we're always learning. I love it.
Well, I don't really have much more for booze news, but I do. Did you want to touch on LeBron, man? Like,
I saw LeBron James walking into the game. He had hurt his groin on Christmas.
Yeah, we'll keep with the chakra, the root chakra here. So, like, we're talking about the enlarged prostate. And now LeBron James is...
He did not hurt his prostate, but he did strain his groin.
It's in the area.
Right.
Like,
he strained his groin. He's going to sit out a little ways.
It's like in the parking lot.
And he is walking into
the Staples Center.
Walking into the arena for the game against the Clippers. And that's a thing. So he knew he was on camera. It's a thing to get these guys walking into the arena because it's sort of like they're punching the clock. They're getting to work. They park their car and they walk into the arena. And a lot of times they are walking to the arena and they are wearing something. They're wearing something cool that they want to show, right? But LeBron...
Like a robe.
Like a robe, like some weird jeans, like their new shoes that they're not going to wear for the game, but they want to wear.
Parachute pants.
As they're walking in, parachute pants are probably going to come back at some point. Maybe they're wearing a faux fur, what have you. But LeBron, for the Clippers game, this was last night.
Christmas.
This was we're
Oh no, yeah.
we're taping
that game
this.
was last night. Yeah.
We're taping this on Saturday. This was the Friday night game. He's walking in, and what is LeBron James, maybe the best basketball player who ever lived, is drinking a glass of wine, red wine. So it brought up some questions.
Like, it's a glass, right? Like,
it was a glass
or like a.
It was hard to tell. It could have been.
It wasn't a goblet, you know.
Wasn't a goblet, but he's just walking in drinking wine, and that was. I've never seen that. I have never seen that.
What?
I watched a lot of basketball. I've never seen a player walking into the arena with that shot of like, here's LeBron James showing up for the game. He's not playing today, but he's drinking wine.
Did he just say? Did someone say like, "Hey, LeBron, what's in the glass"? Or was it? I mean, it could have been.
I don't
juice.
think we know what was in the glass, but we know he's a huge wine guy. So he's kind of our get. If we could get him for 2019 to come on Liquid Gold,
no problem, dude.
That's ultimate. That's our goal. But he's a big wine fan. But it was interesting to see an NBA player just showing up for the game. Now he's not playing, so it's fine, whatever.
Yeah,
but he's
hurt.
walking into the arena drinking wine. That's a statement. Now I don't know what statement he's trying to make. What do you think? Wine rules. Is that what he's trying to say?
Yeah,
I agree with that.
I'm for it.
He's pro wine.
Well, I just hope
he's on our side.
To me, like there's not going to be some sort of situation like a movie where they're like, "Hey, I know you're hurt, but let's put him in. Like, I hope you brought your uniform." Like, he's out. He's not playing for a few games at least, if not more.
He might be making the subtle point that if you're hurt and you're trying to nurse an injury, having a glass of wine here and there, it might help you.
Yeah, well, my only concern...
Antioxidants. Relaxing of the muscles.
Absolutely, Mike. My only concern would be maybe, like, if he was on medication and said glass of wine.
I doubt it. I don't think you need painkillers for a strained groin. Maybe the first night when you do it, but I don't think you need them 3 or 4 days after the injury.
Well, that's what I'm saying is maybe that's what he was trying to say is he's like, I just want y'all to know that I don't need meds right now.
Good point.
I don't need meds.
Good point.
So I'm just drinking this wine.
Reading the tea leaves.
Yeah.
He's telling us, I'm going to be back sooner than you think.
I can deal with the pain.
I can deal with this mild amount of pain, but I shouldn't play. I need a break. I play in the finals and the playoffs every year. I play for the Olympic team. I might need a little bit of a break.
Welcome to the wine bar, LeBron. Like let's get him on our side.
Yeah, yeah.
You can put the sports behind him. He's a smart dude. He doesn't have to play sports anyway.
I think he's got his own wine. Yeah, which he should probably send to get reviewed here on Liquid Gold. So we look forward to that. We're definitely going to be talking about.
Yeah, I mean, he's done enough as an athlete, and not that he had to prove himself to me anyway.
True. He opened a school this year. Yeah. That could be part of it too, is like, I'm walking into the arena. You might not like that I'm drinking wine, but I opened a school like 6 months ago, and I gave everybody a bike, and everybody's going to go to college, and I'm AP Athlete of the Year, all this other stuff. I'm drinking wine.
That's the Associated Press, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's big.
They're still around. Yep. Well, awesome. That closes out Booze News for this week. Kenneth, we look forward to that feature and other features that we'll have here on Liquid Gold, Pair-a-Palooza, Wedge on Wine. We will be getting our phone call sort of game set up so we can talk to Andy Wedge on wine. We are going to call our man in Savannah, Mr. Kevin King. We'll be talking to him. We'll be talking to Andy Muma about all things coffee and beverage. So we look forward to that. We will see you in the new year. But before we go, I have one more little cocktail for you to make. This is in case you are having people over tonight, in case you're having people over for the holiday, and you want to kind of batch a cocktail that then you can top with sparkling wine. We called it earlier a crutch or a cane, that it makes everything good, but there's a reason why we do it. It's because it's delicious. This is not hard. So Brandy Crusta is a super cool old school cocktail, one of the original cocktails from New Orleans, and it's a very simple cocktail with a very complicated garnish. And so if you're having a party, say you're having between 6 and 12 people over, what you can do is sort of prep this garnish beforehand. You can make the cocktail similar to a punch, and then all you will have to do is pour that cocktail into the glass and top it with champagne. So if you're making, say you're making one Brandy Crusta at home, all you need is your little mixing glass or a pint glass, whatever you're going to build this cocktail in, and you need kind of a coupe or a small wine glass. The glass that was originally used for the Brandy Crusta, those just aren't really around anymore. They're these tiny little goblets meets coupe. They're like these small little wine glasses they used to drink out of. However, you can use a coupe or you can use like a small wine glass. But what you want to do is take a lemon and sort of dab the rim of the glass, and you are going to do a sugar rim around the entire glass, okay? So get your sugar rim all set up. So you're going to squeeze some lemon on the rim of the glass. You're going to get a sugar rim going around the whole glass. And then you're going to peel the entire outside of the lemon. All right? So, shout out to the train over here at Wedgwood, Houston.
Choo-choo.
Trains don't lie, baby. You've got your rim set up. Now, if you're making one of these at home, all you need is 2 ounces of brandy, preferably kind of a high proof, maybe a nicer brandy, maybe a middle-of-the-road brandy. You're going to take...
Does it matter if it's French or if it's a cognac or an Armagnac?
It doesn't matter. Armagnac would be nice.
Would you use an apple brandy?
Not for this.
Not at all?
So we're using brandy or we're using cognac, whatever you got. Now, you take your 2 ounces of brandy, throw it in the mixing glass, dash a few dashes of bitters, Angostura, maybe some orange bitters, whatever you've got around. Then you're going to just lightly squeeze about a spoonful of lemon juice into the glass, okay, that you're making this cocktail in. You're going to add, it would be nice if you had maybe a touch of Curacao around the house, maybe a touch of maraschino liqueur, or some simple syrup, just a touch of sugar, whether you're getting it from a liqueur or just some simple syrup, that's fine. The base of this cocktail, though, is you have a lot of brandy, you have some bitters, you have a tiny bit of sugar, and a tiny bit of lemon juice. Mm-hmm. That's what's kind of cool and old school. This is a boozy, old school cocktail. But we're gonna do Brandy Crusta meets champagne cocktail. So you've got your brandy in there, you've got your lemon juice, you've got your sugar, a touch of a liqueur that you've got around. Maybe you have Saint Germain. Go ahead and throw that in there. So you're gonna stir that up. You're gonna stir that up. And then you're going to, once it's like well chilled and everything, you're just going to pour that into your glass that has the sugar rim. And then you're going to place that lemon that you've peeled all inside the glass. And you can Google this. You can look up the Brandy Crusta garnish. So what's cool about that is it looks beautiful. It definitely has a function where you're going to taste those oils in the cocktail. As the cocktail sits there, it's going to soak up all the oils. And you're going to have a very boozy and a very luxurious cocktail. And all we're going to do for this New Year's Eve Brandy Crusta is we're going to top it with champagne. And if you're doing this for a party, all I would say is your batching ratio, you're going to do 2 ounce brandy per cocktail. You're going to do 1 ounce water per cocktail. You're going to do 2 dashes of bitter per cocktail, a spoonful of a simple syrup or any kind of syrup you have, and say a light teaspoon of a liqueur that you've got sitting around, and a tiny bit of lemon juice. So you're going to use all that in your batch, and you're going to get all your glasses ready with the sugar rim and the peel, and then all you're going to do when it comes time, you're going to chill this batch that you set aside, put that in the fridge. Then when people come over, you're just getting that out, pouring that into all these coupes that you have set up, and you're topping it with champagne. And there you have it, Brandy Crusta meets champagne cocktail, and it is delicious.
It's the sort of thing that you can prep the day before. You have your friends over as well. Like, say you're gonna cook some like finger foods, some snacks for your friends. You want those to be fresh. You can make this the day before, chill it, get it all ready.
And I'd say the one food that you can do for a party like this that I think people forget about how good they are, how easy they are, and how everyone loves them, pig in a blanket. Get you some pig in a blanket from the freezer section. All right? Don't stress about it. Make your cocktail beforehand. Get your pig in a blanket.
Wait, Mike,
party down.
no,
Worry about the records that are on the record player.
I have a pig in a blanket recipe.
You don't.
You don't want to go to the grocery store or get biscuit.
You don't have no pig in a blanket recipe.
Yes. I know.
on a future episode. We were talking about poker. I just called your bluff.
Yeah. I knew it.
We know each other too well. We want to say thank you so much to Michael Eads from We Own This Town. He's producing all these awesome podcasts, and he's putting out records. He has some really cool podcasts on that We Own This Town network, talking culture, talking music, talking sports, all kinds of things. You can find Liquid Gold on there. You can find us on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are on Instagram at liquidgold_pod. That's at liquidgold_pod. You can find our guest here. We want to thank Alex Burch. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Alex, this is awesome, dude. I learned a lot, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you got it. Thank you.
We could have made this like 3 hours just sitting here drinking sparkling wine.
No problem.
With Alex. So we'll do it again next year. He's the beverage director over at Bastion here in Wedgwood, Houston. So check them out. They have the bar side. They have the restaurant side. An absolutely stacked team of guys over there. So, and you can always...
It's not fair.
It's not fair. It's like the Warriors. That's why I say it's like the Warriors. But
it's like tequila.
It's like tequila.
It's like sparkling wine.
It's like sparkling wine. The world is unfair, and we love it. You can check out Andrew Hannigan in the Little Bar, they call it, and you can have probably the
fucking dope, dude.
One of the best meals of your life. And we'll be having Andrew on in the new year, so we look forward to talking.
That'd be sick.
All matter of spirits, and I know he likes his cigars, and so we'll talk to him. He's gonna stare us down. He's gonna dominate us.
Oh man, I'm gonna need a booster seat.
We can get that. We're kid friendly over here at Liquid Gold. Hey, it's been great having you guys today. Thank you so much for being here, Alex.
Yeah, thank you.
Kenneth, love you, brother.
Love you too, Mike.
Love you,
Alex.
All right.
Love you guys.
See you next time.